Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Less Known Classics. This is episode number 2955 and Doubleshot number 2849. Here we're reviewing first up, we're reviewing almost the entire second volume of Man-Thing, except for one issue. Issue 4, I actually reviewed that when I reviewed one of the Doctor Strange Epic Collections. So, this is from Man-Thing Volume 2, which has been collected in trade before, which was collected, I think it was collected a couple times. I believe it was collected in an essential book for Man-Thing, and I believe it was collected in an omnibus. Yes. Man-Thing Volume 2, which was released in 1979, roughly a few years after the previous volume had just ended. And those of you curious who's writing this book, I believe it's Jane Matthias. It lasted from basically August of 1979, and the final issue was released in April of 1981. My guess is this book ended probably due to low sales. It probably wasn't that big of a seller for them. So this book volume comes roughly 4 years after the conclusion of the previous volume. Plus, you gotta love these covers of this book. Yeah, it was actually Michael Fisher. He does the first half of the book, and I believe Chris Claremont finishes the book up. Yes. Oh, in the case of Man-Thing, his previous appearance actually was the issue of Micronauts. You thinking, really? Yeah, Micronauts. Yes, that'll be something to review in the future. And I've already discussed basically his appearance from Marvel Toon 1 and Marvel Team Up, Howard the Duck, so it's kind of like basically like after his book ended, it's like some between this book and the next book, it's like basically he would just a guest star, or he just was like he just appeared in team books, or he just a guest on someone else's book. Yeah, he put books like Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, Marvel Preview number 12, which is basically just even briefly. Then he had this book here. He also appeared in Savage She-Hulk at this period of time. After the book concluded, he next appeared in pages of Defenders. So, mostly put, basically, we have in the opening issue a flashback to Ellen Brandit, a woman who was Ted Styles' wife. Though I've heard in a retcon that they retconned where she was actually his fiance. This was technically a first appearance she's made in a comic book since Giant Sized Man-Thing number 1. Yes. And I love the title, love the subtitle of this book. Whoever knows fear burns at the touch of Man-Thing. Yeah, mostly put to him deal with like one-shot characters while he's basically in the Everglades, even going to the Himalayas. Yeah, first he's in the Everglades and he goes to Himalayas for a few issues. And then, well, issue 4, I'm skipping over that because that was a crossover with Doctor Strange. And then we have, in issue 5, debut a woman named Barbie Bannister. A character who would become a recurring character in this book, who appeared throughout most of Chris Claremont's issues, except skipping issues 6 and 9. But Chris Claremont takes over issue 5, and he remains this book into the final issue. Now he's back in the Everglades in Citrusville. We also see the return of Sheriff John Daughtry. Well, actually, he made his debut in issue 4, and he's here for pretty much almost the entire volume. At the volume concludes, he appears 2 more times after this, and that was the last we saw of him. It's like more like a horror-ish book. Aside from the fact you have Man-Thing and this sheriff character, You don't really have like a lot of real. We also do see a return of Captain Fate. Yes, a character who did fight Man-Thing from the previous volume for this series. Yep. He returns this book for 3 issues, appearing in 2 issues of the previous volume. He appeared in issues 7, 8, and 10, and that was last saw of him until Captain America 13 in 2010. Actually, 2008. So, well, the reason why for that because he died. Though he came back. It's mostly put basically him. It's a lot of one-shot-ish issues. Like I do with like a motorcycle cane. A gang. We also see the return of Andrew Cale. Who is Andrew Cale? I believe this is Jennifer's brother. Jennifer Cale's brother. I believe so. Yeah, it's his brother. It's her brother. And get this. A fun fact about Andrew Cale. He is Johnny Blaze's cousin. No, seriously, he is. Yeah, he basically came back this book. First time he appeared in a comic book. Like, he was a recurring character during the Fear stuff. The Fear series, Man-Thing was featured there. And then returned in Doctor Strange. And then he pops up here for the last 2 issues of this book. And then he's not seen again until the Witches miniseries. And by the last issue, he takes on this creature who was Thog the Neverspawn. Which is a character he fought in his first issue when he took over the book of Fear from Khazar. Yeah, and this actually was the first time he fought him since the final 2 issues of the previous volume for the series. And after this, he appeared in Defenders. And Doctor Strange issue of the current volume. Of issue of Howard the Duck volume 5. Yes. But by the end of this book, it's like, yeah, after fighting him, it's like, you're like, okay, so after, like, they end this book after appearing at their, my guess is the reason why it started 1979 included in 1971 because it was published once every 2 months. And my guess is it probably was a big seller, so that's why they canceled it. That's my guess. But after this book concluded, like, pretty much in the way, like, what happened to him afterwards, he later appeared in a couple issues of Defenders, 2 issues of Thor, an issue of Marvel Team Up, he appeared in 2 issues of Marvel Fanfare. Which I'll probably review that at some point. Yeah, the 2 issues of Marvel Fanfare. I have reviewed his Marvel Comics Presents feature. Yes, I have. So, yeah, so I would say the only thing I have to talk about from Man-Thing, aside from his many volumes, is his 2 issues of Marvel Fanfare. His feature from second feature from Marvel Comics Presents. After that, basically, it'll be the Man-Thing 3rd volume, which was a short 8 issues. There is also Shadows and Light. I will discuss that. There's not a lot discussed left to go for Man-Thing. Not really, no. Those who are curious, is there a 4th volume for Man-Thing? There is. Except the 4th volume was an adaptation of the movie. Yep. Volume 5, I've discussed already. Because it's the R.L. Stine book. Yep. So, what do I think overall of the 2nd volume for Man-Thing? I thought it was an interesting volume. The only sad part was, aside from the crossover with Doctor Strange, it felt as though his book was very self-contained. It didn't really interact with the Marvel Universe very much. So, next talk about Man-Thing, it'll be some of his feature stuff before I talk about his next volume. Probably his 2 issues of Marvel Fanfare and excuse me, a second feature from Mark Presents. I give these issues here for Man-Thing Volume 2, issues 1 through 3 and 5 through 11, a 9 out of 10. Next up we have is Darkhawk, issues 31 and 34, and 38 to 41. Now, why am I skipping over 35, 37? Simple. It was collected in a Venom Epic Collection. Basically, in the first two issues in here, it's the crossover with Infinity Crusade, where you have Darkhawk taking on a possessed thing, who's wearing a silly helmet, because his face being disfigured. Yeah, that's pretty much the reason why. And in case you're curious, though, like the whole thing, like him being part of the whole, it's only around for one issue, and then he fights Savage Steel. Excuse me. Basically, one of his only known recurring bad guys the whole book. Yeah, and he fights him once in issue 32, and doesn't fight him again until like toward the end of the series. Yep. And I have to deal with him. And then the very next issue, we debuted this character named Kuda. This weird person who only appears for 2 issues. Appears 33 and 34. Yep, quick 2-part involving him fighting this character. And then we'll skip over straight to 38. 38 starts a, believe it or not, a 4-part storyline known as the Amulet Quest. This, pretty much in a way, is the origin of the Darkhawk Diamond that give Darkhawk his powers. Not sure why I didn't figure out waited until this point of the series to it, but okay. And of course, basically, we also return of Evil Hawk, which is the first time he's been seen since issue 25. They also in the end. He appeared in this issue. He appears almost this whole saga as basically like the main villain. Which, yeah, also Darkhawk's suit gets updated for this particular story arc. But great story arc overall. Yep. Yes, and by the way, 42 basically moves on from that point. Yep, pretty interesting issues. Darkhawk, from what I can tell, is a fan favorite. People still like Darkhawk this very day. It's just that Chuck Dixon is not a fan of the series, purely because he points out this series is written by an editor. Now, Nova, great series. By an editor, maybe he does not know what he's doing, possibly. But this has something over Night Thrasher. You want to know what that is? Stuff happens. Because reading Night Thrasher book, it feels like not a lot happened in 21 issues. And yet somehow, this book managed to last longer than Night Thrasher. Given the fact that I like this book, I think Darkhawk is an interesting character. And can you believe we're almost done with this book? Yes, believe it or not. We have overall about 10 issues left to review because, well, there is 51 issues. Yep. But not much else to say about these issues. So I'm going to give Darkhawk issues 31 to 34 and 38 to 41 a 9 out of 10. Yep, so yeah, that's that particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do not hit the like button. Well, next up is going to be Demon Lord's Retry, and then my one last comic corner, which I have, it could be physical, and then after that, it'll be Israel Goes Lunch. Okay, thanks, Phil. Bye.